From Washington, this is VOA News. U.S. condemns new North Korean threats. Syrian opposition gets a boost from the Arab League. I'm Ray Kugel reporting from Washington. The United States says it is concerned about North Korea's latest warning that it can strike targets on Guam, Hawaii, and the U.S. mainland. Pentagon spokesman George Little says the North must stop threatening peace, noting that such rhetoric does not help anyone.
North Korea's bellicose rhetoric and threats follow a well-worn pattern designed to raise tensions and intimidate others. North Korea will achieve nothing by threats or provocations, which will only further isolate North Korea and undermine international efforts to ensure peace and stability in Northeast Asia.
Spokesman George Little says U.S. forces are ready to respond to any contingency. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon says 2 separate peacekeeping forces will be needed in Mali to keep peace and take on any major combat. In an advance copy of a report to be presented to the Security Council and obtained by VOA, Mr. Ban says an 11,000-member peacekeeping force eventually would take over the mission from an initial African-led force. Former Congolese general and rebel leader Bosco Ntaganda made his first appearance before the International Criminal Court Tuesday, saying he is innocent of the charges against him. Prosecutors say Ntaganda was criminally responsible for the use of child soldiers in acts of murder, rape, and sexual slavery while serving as a militia leader in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. He faces 7 counts of war crimes and 3 counts of crimes against humanity. The UN Children's Fund reports many communities in most of the rebel-controlled areas of the Central African Republic lack basic services. UNICEF says it is seriously affecting about 600,000 children, and the situation is getting worse since rebels seized control of the capital, Bangui. Lisa Schlein has details.
UNICEF spokeswoman Marixie Mercado says hundreds of thousands of children are extremely vulnerable. They are receiving little assistance because humanitarian organizations have no access to them. She says a UNICEF mission to 3 rebel-controlled areas earlier this month found shortages in life-saving medicines.
Health activities have been seriously disrupted as most doctors have left. Many schools are closed, occupied by armed groups, or without teachers. We estimate that 13,500 children will suffer from life-threatening malnutrition this year, and many nutrition centers are closed and looted.
Lisa Schlein for VOA News, Geneva.
Syria's opposition representatives took the country's seat at an Arab summit for the first time Tuesday, saying that the United States should use Patriot surface-to-air missiles to protect rebel-held areas from President Bashar al-Assad's air power. NATO says it has no intention of intervening militarily in Syria. Banks remained closed Tuesday in Cyprus as the Mediterranean island nation began to cope with life under terms of the $13 billion bailout it secured to avert an economic collapse. The country began to shut down its second-largest bank, Cyprus Popular, and restructure its largest, the Bank of Cyprus. The U.S. Supreme Court Tuesday heard the first of 2 landmark cases on same-sex marriage. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the court as justices heard arguments on the constitutionality of a California state law known as Proposition 8. It bars gay people from marrying. VOA's Michael Bowman has more.
What do we want? Equality! Now!
Excitement and anticipation could be seen in the faces of John Lewis and Stuart Gaffney, partners of 25 years.
We wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world right now. This is history in the making.
The San Francisco couple wed during a brief period when California allowed same-sex marriage. That was before the passage of a 2008 ballot initiative known as Proposition 8 that restricted marriage to heterosexuals in the state. Prop 8's constitutionality has been contested for the last 4 years. Tuesday, the case was aired before the Supreme Court. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
SpaceX's Dragon space capsule returned to Earth, parachuting into the Pacific Ocean west of Baja California in Mexico about 6 hours after it undocked from the International Space Station Tuesday. The commercially owned spacecraft carried 1,200 kilograms of science samples from experiments conducted on board the orbiting lab. And President Obama says he'll be appointing Julia Pearson as the first woman to head the U.S. Secret Service, the agency that protects the president and his family. I'm Ray Kugel, VOA News. More at voanews.com.